Well, we just farmed and ranched. And there was 8 of us children. There's 3 girls and 5 boys, and I had a twin brother. It was Lorraine Bernice and DeWitt, and Miles and I were twins, Cotton and Lyman York, and my youngest sister, Sarah Beth Louder. And every one of these, of my brothers and sisters, all got a college education. I was the only one that didn't get a degree. But DeWitt started the Tech in the year that Tech opened, 1925, and graduated with the first class in 1929. And his degree was in textile engineering. And he had a job offered to him out of South Carolina, $35 a month. But he decided he'd just stay home. He bought him a new saddle and never did leave the farm or the ranch. And Lorraine, when about 1921, she went to Arizona and went to teaching school. Well, she took me out there with her in 1925, and I went to school that year. And also, next year she took Miles and I both, but in 1929, Miles and I went to Lubbock and finished high school down there. And I played football at Tech and freshman ball in 1931. In the spring of 32, I came home. And we lost our youngest brother, Lyman York, in World War II. He was shot down in Tokyo Bay. And Cotton was also he was in the Navy, in the Air Force. But Cotton and DeWitt and I, we was partners in our ranching and farming after our father died and mother, and they died in 47 and 48. And we'd bought a place in Garden City, Kansas, and my twin brother went up there and ran that place, and he died in 1981. And Sarah Beth, we had a ranch in New Mexico, and we divided up our property. Why, she got the property out in New Mexico, and she lived in Tucumcari. She has a daughter here, Sally Meekley, who's the daughter of Don Meekley. My father told me that they put up hay down in the Palo Duro Canyon for the Jays, and on those flats that would be down in Harold's ranch right now, and maybe back up where the Puckett camp is, in there somewhere where they put the hay up. When they'd haul that hay in, sometimes they'd grab up a bunch of that hay in their arms, and they'd have a rattlesnake in it. And I don't guess it took them long to throw it down. In 1916, Charles Goodnight had a buffalo hunt, had a lot of Indians there. And one of these Indians was supposed to ride up and shoot a horse with a bow and arrow. But my father and all of his neighbors was going to go to that buffalo hunt. And he just bought a 1916 model 7-passenger touring car. Quite an automobile. And Miles and I thought we ought to go too, but my father had a little different thoughts about it, and he invited all of the neighbors, Mr. Hamlin and Mr. Adams, Mr. McQuarrie and Will Hamlin. And they all went and saw the buffalo hunt.
What did you do that day?
Well, I'll tell you what, we went out the barn before sun came up, and I remember we was wrangling those horses around, those horses and mules. Fed them, took care of them.
Not what you wanted to be doing that day.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't what we wanted to do. We raised duck hunter. And there was a fella in Woodward, Oklahoma named W.A. Yeager that bought a J.A. filly, and she was out of this Will Steed horse, and brought her to our place and bred her to Sergeant. Now that's getting a lot of kinfolks. But he raised a filly out of her and they named her F.L. Ladybug. And a fella and everything that they bred her to was a racehorse. And they raised a stallion out of her and out of a horse called Top Moon. And when he was 2 years old, they went to running him. He won Kansas Futurity in Rio Dosa. He won Rainbow Futurity, and also ran second in All-American, which is the richest race there was and may still be. And there was also Barnes's Ladybug ran third, and Ralph's Ladybug ran fourth. Now there was some of this old F.L. Ladybug mare that ran second, and there was granddaughters that ran third and fourth. Now I don't imagine that'll ever happen anymore. And they also took this Barnes's Ladybug and bred the Top Moon and got Bugs Alive in 75. And Bugs Alive in 75 won the All-American in 75. And there was another descendant of this old F.L. Lady mare that also won the All-American race, and his name was Moonlark. And Marvin Barnes in Ada, Oklahoma finally got a hold of this F.L. Ladybug mare and raised several colts. But he took some of these descendants back in the 80s, 81 or 2 or 3 somewhere, and took 2 of them out there and won first and second of the All-American race. And that's the kind of bloodlines we had here in Armstrong County. And George Gillum, he was an Armstrong County boy and lived out here on the north side of the Palo Duro. He raised over at Wayside. He had a son, a bartender. Preacher G was a real good horse. And Leroy Camel had a son, a Preacher G, that was named Ike Rude, named after an old J.A. cowboy and a big champion steer roper. And he was an extra good horse, one of the best. And Ike Rude's mammy was Cynthia Ann. And Cynthia Ann was sired by Yellow Boy, a J.A. horse out of Yellow Jacket, which was one of the best horses they ever had down there, I guess.